hold on. Now? Careful. Did you turn on?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Good evening. Maybe I have a little, I have this thing here, and first thing I want to say is, how are you? How are you today? Feeling good? Excellent. So I have this issue that people pointed out at me, that my voice sometimes comes out too low. I'm this person that speaks like in a soft voice. So if I do that and you can't hear me well, just, I want to take responsibility for that, and please let me know, and I'll raise my voice at that moment. And also, about these talks that we have here, and I see some new faces and some old faces. The people who come like me today that prepare a topic to present here, many times you will hear from us that these topics that we talk about and the information we bring here, we need it the most. And I think I want to say this today, because particularly today, I'm going to talk about something that I believe it's basic, but that I struggle with. And it's still difficult for me. So I need it the most. And that's why I'm bringing this topic that I think it's basic, and I think it's simple, and yet it's still difficult. Taking responsibility, not always do that. Let's begin by experiencing something, okay? Join me for just a minute for a quick experience. I'm gonna ask you to close your eyes just for a few seconds. Close your eyes and think of a happy memory. Bring a happy moment, a happy memory. You have it? Yeah? Okay, keep it with you and open your eyes. Keep it with you. And now, tell me, what made you feel happy? If someone wants to share, what made you feel happy?
An experience I had.
An experience you had? Okay.
A memory.
A memory?
Being with my family.
Being with your family? Okay. Larry? What made you happy? What made you feel happy? Something made you feel happy?
Well, I was thinking, when I thought about the experience, I connect directly with the topic tonight. To change my life on a responsibility side.
Mm-hmm. So taking responsibility made you happy?
The experience that I thought,
Mm-hmm.
it connects with the topic tonight.
Excellent. Now, can you think who was the author of that that got you to that moment? You?
Yeah.
You were the author of the moment,
I brought myself to that moment.
You brought yourself to, excellent. Someone else? Some different? So all of you went to a moment, right? When I said look for a feeling that made you happy, something that made you happy, did all of you go to a moment? Did all of you have a moment? Yeah? Excellent. That's how it goes, because life is made of moments. So, from moment to moment, from moment to moment, life is made of moments. And the truth is that if you think about it, it is not what happened at that moment that made you happy. When you get this feeling of happiness, truly, what brings you the happiness is not the moment. It's not being with your family, or any of the other moments that you have. What brings you happiness is your reaction to that moment. So that happiness comes always from within. It comes always from you. The happiness, and I think you brought that point, Fatima, the other day here. It was so key to the workshop that we were having on emotions. Very important. That emotional response, it's what's going to bring me the happiness or the sorrow or whatever it is that I'm feeling. And what it's going to define me as a person is that response. It is not whatever happens or whatever thing comes to me. What's going to define me is what I do, how do I respond to any of those moments. That's what's really important. Now I want to tell you about my experience, and in relation to this topic, because we all have good moments and bad moments in life. So life is made of moments, and we have some that we consider good, some that we consider bad, some that we think bring us happiness. We all have at some point some moments that are tough, that make us feel bad, that maybe keep us frustrated or bring anger to us, any of those feelings, right? It could be small things. And that's why I say all of us. There's nobody in this earth, no human in this earth that can say, I don't have any bad moment. And it could be small things. I was going to bring an example from myself today, and then it was a very silly example about a recipe that I was trying to make, and I couldn't make. But then I remembered today something happened that really made me frustrated. And I'm supposed to go back to Spain tomorrow because I have work, I have meetings, there's an agenda, everything. And only today I went to my email and I checked my plane ticket. And my plane ticket expired last week. So right now, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But that happened to me today. And end of the day, it's a small thing, you know. It's, as they say, it's a first world problem. Yeah. But as an example to share with you today, I bring something which was much more difficult for me to handle than just a plane ticket that I'm sure I can either stay here or go, but I can resolve that and it'll be okay. And then for that, to share that experience, I'm going to go back to my life to 2009. And in 2009, I was living at the time in Mexico. And having lived in different countries in Latin America, because I was working for a company that organized events in different places. And I was the one who was going from country to country organizing the event. I've been working for almost 10 years doing that job. And in 2009, I had a burnout, a complete meltdown, burnout. I couldn't continue. At that point, I was probably doing 10% of what I should be doing at work, less than 10% of what I should be doing at home, and I was spending a huge amount of energy and effort in pretending that everything was okay. Just pretending that everything is fine, that I'm cool, nothing happens. That was where most of my energy was going to. As you can imagine, I was not taking responsibility at that moment. So what was happening? I felt that I was being taken advantage of at work. I was doing extra things that I was not supposed to do. I had committed my word to different people for different things. Some were, very important, like where am I going to live, like in which house I was sharing with other people, and I had a commitment. And I was trapped by that at that point. I found that I was being complicit with unethical behavior of people. But I didn't feel, I felt powerless against that. So I was not doing unethical things myself, but I was being complicit with them. And that, you can maybe imagine, I don't know if you've gone through that, but it makes you feel pretty bad, like worthless. And at the bottom of it all, I was having some very difficult relationships, and I ended up on a situation where I suffered both emotional and once physical abuse. And if you know me, you probably think this is maybe, I don't know, hard to believe. And I thought it was hard to believe for me. Like, it wasn't me. I didn't feel like it was me at that moment. But it did happen to me. And I was feeling so bad that it did happen to me. At my lowest point, I remember that I went away for about a month for work, month and a half, to El Salvador for an event. And I spent almost all my time at the hotel in bed. Just went out for the essential meetings that I couldn't get off away from them. So that was my situation at the time. I didn't know what to do. I was feeling like, the whole world was putting a huge weight on me, and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I just wanted to be in bed, really. And I know this is something that happens to not, and even I've heard stories of abuse, or, even in children. I didn't go through that. But these things happen. And even though it is not your fault, even though it was not my fault, all of the things that were happening to me, at the time, I didn't think so. I didn't feel so. I felt like I was a victim. And when you feel like you're a victim, and that's how I was feeling at the time, you feel like you can't do anything because it's not up to me. This is happening to me. Well, what am I gonna do? Now, my exit at that time, luckily, I had someone who kind of woke me up. And it was at work, but it was a friend, a very good friend, who said, I'm walking away and leaving you here unless you wake up. That kind of brought me back a little bit. But then my first act of responsibility at that moment was asking for help, looking for help. That was my first act of taking responsibility. Up to that point, I was being a victim completely. From that moment, I started to get out of there. And it was by doing that, by asking for help, in my case. Now, what we tend to do in those situations is blame. I tended to blame my boss because he was, for years, making me work, day and night and weekends and whatever, making me do anything. And even support, as I say, things that I knew were not ethical, but I was doing them. And I would blame other people for being weak and me having to carry their problems in my shoulders because they were weak, and I had told them, I'm going to help you. So I felt responsible. So I felt like I had to leave for those people because I told them I would help. So I was, confused to that point. But I didn't realize that it was me. I had put myself in that position. So when we are in the victim's chair, of course, things are happening to us, and we are not, we're not responsible for many times for the things that happen to us, but we are responsible for what we do with that, no matter what it is. So really, and this is the thing that it's difficult to understand, there's no exception to this. No matter what it is, there is no exception. We are always responsible for our response, and we can choose what that response is. We always have that choice. Today, you can decide to run 5K, start training for that. Anyone can do that. Or start a business, or say you're upset with whatever traditions there are in your family. Invent a new one. Say, I don't want this tradition anymore. I'm going to do it differently now. You can break with all of those things, invent new ones. You can smile. You can choose to smile, something so simple. To forgive someone, to say, I'm sorry to someone, to stand for yourself. All of those things are our choice at this moment. But, yeah, I'm not going through the slides because I'm getting carried away with the story. And really, this is the path that we have to follow. We have to go from being victims to owning the situation. And what is it that typically we tend to do with that responsibility? Speak up.
Put the responsibility on other people, that they are the one who did something.
Exactly. So, if, I don't know, if I'm not starting a business, it's because I don't have the money, or I don't have the experience, or I asked for this help from this person and this person said no, or because I couldn't get into college that I wanted to, or there's always, what we do is we transfer that responsibility. And we can transfer it to our parents, family member, we can transfer it to mentor. Oh, my mentor should be helping me on this. Or to the spirits. Oh, I'm going to the Spiritist center, so they should do the work. I'm coming here. Let them infuse whatever it is they infuse on the passage chamber, or whatever it is, and then everything is gonna be okay. I'm good. Or, this is probably my favorite, we give it to God. So, what's God for? He's all powerful, right? If he's all powerful, he should be taking care of any injustice or anything that is happening, or any of my needs. And this is so ingrained in our mental construction of our world, because at the end of the day, my world, my mind is so powerful that my life, my experiences are made of whatever stories I've told myself about myself and about the things around me in the world. And these ideas are, they are so ingrained. If you know about neuro-linguistic programming, they study how what we say, how we do things, all of the paradigms that we have in our mind affect our life. And I remember that when I was a child, my grandma, she would always say in the language over there, in Valencian language, she would say, Deu proveirá. Deu proveirá means God will provide. And this was like, so often I would hear, Deu proveirá, Deu proveirá, Deu proveirá. Or, if God wants. So this is something that she would also say all the time, And of course, when we say it, we're not conscious about being real, like, okay, I'm just I'm going to do nothing and let God bring whatever it is. But deep down, when we keep on saying those things and when we keep on using those expressions, we keep on building a world where we take our responsibility and we pass it on to God or to whomever, someone, because we keep on training that, right? So we talked about that, choice. So we say life is made of moments, right? All moments. Now, on those moments, things are going to happen, and we're gonna go through pain and through trouble and through disappointments. As we said, whether it's a small example or whether it's a big thing in our life, we're all going to have those moments. And it's very important that when that comes, when that happens, we have to look for of course, for the way out, for the solution. And in that process, it's like, what do I do? Now, before we go to the what, we need to look for the who. Who? Because unconsciously, most of the time, again, we are saying, oh, this person did this thing to me, and now I am unable to, fulfill my duty, or set up my business, or, come to the center, whatever, anything. We need to look for that who, and that who is us, always. That who is me. Unless I'm clear about that, I'm not going to be able to go to the what. And the way from that what, from that who is me, always me, to the what, it's my free will. I need to understand that too. I have a choice. I always have a choice. I may think that I'm limited, but within that limitation, I have a choice. Sometimes my choice is I can't do anything, like physically. I need to accept the situation and move on. Sometimes that's the case, but that's also a choice, because I have the choice to not accept the situation. And if I am going through any of this, and there's nothing I can physically do at that moment, and I don't accept that situation, the only thing that I'm going to do is make it worse. Now, when we get these moments of problem, of trouble, we need to think, and this is my first practical piece of advice tonight, we need to think, what is this for? What is this pain here for? Or what is this trouble? Or what is this disappointment? Or this frustration? Or this anger? Or this feeling of vengeance that I have? What is it for? What is it doing here? Because what is the question that we typically ask? Any? What do we typically ask when something happens?
Why?
Why? And you go why is this happening to me? And then if we don't why, what we're looking for is a culprit. We're looking for the assassin. And that's not going to help with the situation. That's deflecting. We need to ask, what for? Do I need to learn something? Do I need to change something in me? Do I need to work on something? Do I need to become aware of something that I'm not aware of? It could be any of those things. So the first thing that we need to do is ask what for and be aware of it, be conscious of it. Sometimes it's not easy to, in the middle of that, to find it, but if we go deep down, typically we do find the what for. And at that point, we need to then look for moments, and we can call them in-between moments, because that pain, that trouble, that disappointment, it's there, but as anything else in life, it's not there forever. Everything changes, and everything keeps on changing, and pain changes too, and disappointment changes too. everything changes. And good moments, those change too, and those end. So we can't cling to, all good moments because they are going to go, and then we're going to feel bad that we don't have those anymore. We have to enjoy the good moments, but we can't cling onto them or think that they are going to be eternal, or a good situation that we may be going through in life. It may be temporary, like the bad moments. So we have those in-between moments, and those are very important because we can make use of those moments. And we have to think, what do we do in those? It's very common to just feel relieved for a moment, but feel fearful. Like, oh, it seems okay now, I'm not feeling that pain, but what if it comes back? What am I going to do? How am I going to feel? So we may be living in fear, or simply be, unaware that though that pain, that trouble, that hard moment may come back. Now we have to use that time to generate first moments of happiness. We need to do that, and we need to train to do that, and we need to generate resilience also, and we need to generate awareness. We need to use those moments to do that. I like the story, and you may have heard me talking about him other times, of Viktor Frankl. You know who Viktor Frankl was? Some do. He was a Austrian psychiatrist, and he was Jewish, and during Second World War, he was taken by the Nazis, and he was taken to Auschwitz. So he spent, I think, about 2 years in Auschwitz, something like that. From the moment that he was taken, he and his whole family, to the moment that the camp got liberated, or just opened, and they could walk away. And he lost everyone, wife, kids, absolutely everyone. Of course, they took him, and then he lost contact. But the thing is, of the story, he lost everyone. But he used that time, and imagine, just for a second, it's very difficult. And I have been there at the place, and it's very charged. But even so, it's very difficult to imagine. You try what things they went through, everyone that was there at the time. So he wrote this book, Man in Search for Freedom. No, sorry, Man in Search for Meaning, where he tells the whole experience. And he used that experience. At the end of the day, he used it to develop a therapy. And with that therapy, then he helped a lot of people. But what he says, one of the things that he says is, he talks about the ultimate freedom. And there's an ultimate freedom that we all have. And unless we give it away, and that happened to many people there, of course, that they surrendered and they say, do whatever you want with me, or I just want to die. He says, and it's true, unless you want to give it away, there's nobody that can take that ultimate freedom from you. You always have a choice, an inner choice, on how you take anything, even that experience of being in Auschwitz for a couple of years, with all that it means, and losing your whole family and everything. So he always said, I have the choice. I'm going to keep that fundamental piece of myself, of my spirit. I'm going to keep it intact. There's no one that can reach there if I don't want to. And he did that. And that's how he survived, and how he could go through it. We always have that choice. That story, I read the book many, many years ago, and it's helped me through those tough moments when I was feeling so bad and so down, I would remember that story, and I would say, hey, this is nothing. This is nothing compared. And it's, if he could do that, I can go through anything, really. So we always have that choice. Now, it may be easy, or somehow easy, if we are kind of alone, or if we don't account for interactions with others. But the truth is that we're not alone. We live in a society, we live in community, we live in family, all of those. And sometimes we think, okay, if I feel nothing about what people do to me or what happens to me about other people, I'm fine. All I have to do is not feel anything. Well, it doesn't really, like taking responsibility, it doesn't take like that. It doesn't work like that, sorry. But it is compatible with taking responsibility, is compatible with believing in something that is bigger than myself. And any of those things are bigger than myself. Family, the community that I live in, like this is a community, and my work is a community, and so on, and the society. And what comes to my mind is, how can I make those places better? How can I make my family better? How do I use my responsibility to make my family better, to make my community better, to make the society better? Because it's very frustrating, because it's not up to me. It depends on many other people. So what I can do in my mind to influence those places, again, is taking responsibility for my own actions and trying not to take on my shoulders responsibility for anybody else's, because then I'm getting into a place that does not belong to me. And because I can only change myself, I cannot change anybody else. And if I try to do that, maybe because I have an idea of how a good society should be, or a good community should be, if I go down that route, I'm not taking my own responsibility. I'm trying to take someone else's. I can only work with mine and take my own responsibility. And that's probably the best way to influence my society and my community. And there's one more thing that it's greater than me, and that's God. And I think I bring it here because I think, as we said, we tend to transfer our responsibility to God. And nothing like that. God is not going to come and do anything or don't do anything about whatever is my own responsibility, the way I have to act and I have to react and take the things that happen to me and work with that. But there's something I can do, and believing that God is the supreme intelligence on everything. Again, not that God is doing anything, it's that intelligence. If I believe that, which I believe, I have to acknowledge that supreme intelligence, it is God for me, and it is the same intelligence for me and for everybody else, everyone. And that includes the people that I don't like, that includes the people that I don't agree with, that includes the people that do something that I feel it's bad or unjust, or it includes all of that. So if that God, if that supreme intelligence it is the same for me and for everybody else, that means that maybe not myself, but that God is inclusive. It is for everybody. It's for the worst criminal out there. It's the same one. So it's not going to make any distinctions. Otherwise, it wouldn't be that supreme intelligence. Right? That's the way I see it. Now, if God is inclusive, I think that my way of taking responsibility in society and versus that supreme intelligence is trying to do the same thing myself, although it's very difficult. Now, we find through practice that although this is very difficult, we are empowered to work with our own responsibility, to take on our own responsibility when we do that, when we try to generate empathy for those that we disagree with, when we try to get to know them and maybe open an exchange of ideas. I don't have to accept or do things the way others do. That's not what we mean by taking responsibility. But it is my responsibility to live with everybody else. And that the best way to build, at the end of the day, a better society and what I can do, it starts with that. And although it's very hard because, I can say for myself, there's people out there with very crazy ideas about whatever topic. I'm not going to get into details of topics because, you all have different ones that you think people are crazy when they think this or that things should be done this way or should be done that way. We all think that. But we'd be surprised if we talked more to each other. We'd be surprised to learn that most of the time we have many things in common, many things in common. And sometimes we have in common with people that we believe think very differently from us the idea or the wish to build a better world. And it's funny, not funny, I don't know, it's a paradox how we can have that in common. And yeah, we do. Just that some people have an idea of what a better world should be very different from mine. But that does not mean that our heart is not in the same place. And this is very difficult to grasp, but it is. Our heart is in the same place. We just want, all of us, a better world. So when we're trying to take responsibility, the idea of good and bad, it's not helping. Whenever we go, this is good, this is bad, even if we say this is good, that's not helping us to take responsibility. Because when I judge good or bad, what am I doing? Again, I'm deflecting. I'm taking my own responsibility on someone else. If that's bad, hey, what am I going to do? Correct it. You're doing something bad. Do it well, and then I'll do my part. That's what we tend to do. Not going to pay taxes because the government spends the money on whatever, this or that I don't like. Again, I'm judging, and that judgment is not helping me to take my own responsibility. And that judgment, it's a mental construction. Just my mind playing. I need to be aware of that. So, to finish, I want to leave this thought. Because taking responsibility is not accepting everything and just, do whatever you want with me. Okay, I'll be okay. I'm not going to feel anything. No. To me, taking responsibility is acting free from judgment. Exercising my free will, which is complete, total free will, from moment to moment. And all of those moments, I always have the choice. And if I feel like I made a mistake, I have a next moment, and I have the next moment, and I have the next moment. So this is my final piece of advice for today. Hope you like it. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan. Was a good one, right, guys? Good, right? Made us thinking. Very good, very good. Thank you so much. And Manny, do you have the announcements? Okay, let's go. So here we have, if you want to find out what's going on here at the center, you can just scan this and